Good morning, my dear children. Yesterday, we discussed about our third lesson. Our third lesson is School Breaks Up, and we discussed about who wrote the story, and this story is taken from which novel? The story is taken from the novel Swami and Friends, and we discussed about R.K. Narayan. Yes or no? And today we'll be discussing more in detail about the characters coming in the story and what happens in the story. Okay, let's dive into the lesson. And before diving, let me uh, tell about Swami. And the main character of the story is Swami or Swaminathan. Okay. And he's a 10-year-old boy studying at Albert Mission School, and which is in Malgudi. I already gave you an introduction about Malgudi, yes or no? Malgudi is a fictional place or an imaginary place created by R.K. Narayan. So the story takes place in Malgudi, and it's about the adventures of Swami and his friends. I have a video to show you. So let's watch the video and let's come back.
On the last day of the exams, Swaminathan strode out of the examination hall. Swami suddenly wished that he had not come out so soon. Tamil paper was set to go on till 5 o'clock, but he had found himself writing the last line of the last sentence at 4:30. Out of the 6 questions set, he had answered the first question to his satisfaction, but the second was doubtful. The third and fourth were satisfactory, while the fifth was clearly wrong. The sixth answer was the best of the lot. With his left shoulder resting against the wall, Shankar was lost to the world. Rajam, sitting under the second ventilator between 2 third-form boys, had become a writing machine. Mani was still gazing at the roof, scratching his chin with the pen. The P, little Samuel, the cleverest boy in class, was leaning back in his seat, revising his answers. After writing, he looked at the big hall clock. Half an hour more. He wished the paper was set for 2.5 hours instead of 3. He wanted to leave early, but he felt awkward to be the first to go out. It was only 10 minutes past 4:30. He saw 2 boys give their papers and go out, and he felt happy.
It was the last day of the exam, and Swami, he went out of the examination hall. That is, he gave the papers back, and he stood in the school veranda, and he turned back and looked into the hall. And when he was standing there, he felt so uneasy or uncomfortable because he wished that, like him, all the boys could have given the answer papers to the supervisor, because he had come out of the examination hall 20 minutes before time. And when he looked into the class, he saw that all of them were writing um, in a hurry, and so he was thinking, well, why did I just come out 20 minutes before? Okay. And when he looked into the class, he could find that his friend Shankar, okay, he was resting his left shoulder against the wall, and he was lost in his own world. And next he looked at his another friend Rajam. Rajam was like a writing machine. That is, he was writing and writing, and he was not at all bothered of the things happening around him. And there's another guy called Mani, and Mani was gazing at the roof. Okay, he was looking at the roof for a long time, and he was scratching his chin with the pen. Okay, and he was thinking about what to write in the answer sheet. And whereas his Another friend, uh, these boys call him as P-E-A-P, or Little Samuel. Little Samuel was the cleverest boy in the class, and what he did is he finished his exam and he was leaning onto the bench and he was revising his answers. And whereas the supervisor uh, was drowsily seated, drowsily means he was feeling asleep. And there were two supervisors. One was seated and the other one was roaming in the class. So one was like very sleepy, and the other was roaming in the class looking at the children. And Swami suddenly wished that he had not come out soon because he could have stayed for a longer time. It was Tamil paper and it was still 5 o'clock, and he finished his exam by 4:30. And so, uh, and he had like 6 questions he had to write, and his first answer was up to his satisfaction. He thought that okay, this answer is okay. And whereas the second one was doubtful. He was not sure whether it was correct or incorrect. Whereas the third and the fourth one were satisfactory. He was having a feeling that okay, this answer is right. So he was having such kind of a satisfaction. Whereas the fifth one was clearly wrong. He knew that it was wrong, but still he wrote it. And the sixth one was the best of all the six. It was best of the lot. And the question is, what is the moral of the story, The Man and the Tiger? Do you know the story of The Man and the Tiger? Okay, I'll say the story. The story is about a man uh, who walks along the edge of the pond. Okay, he walks along the edge of the pond and he sees a tiger at the other side of the pond. And this tiger has a golden bangle, and the tiger asks the man to come and take the bangle. At first, the man says no, he refused the offer. He refuses and says, I don't want the bangle. But still, the tiger shows him, and what happens is the man he decides to take the bangle, and so he wades through the water. He walks through the water, and as he stretches his hand to take the bangle, the tiger it kills him and it eats him at that moment itself. So this is the story, and this question is, what is the moral of the story? So Swami, he thought for a moment and he took a minute to decide what the moral was, and he came out with two interesting answers. Shall we find out the interesting answers? Yes. The first one was, we must never accept a gold bangle when it is offered by a tiger. Yeah, is that funny? We must never accept a golden bangle when it is offered by a tiger. Oh my god. Hold on, we'll go to the next one. The next moral he found for this question was, love of gold can be dangerous. So, this was the second one he found out. Okay, and so he understood that the second one is more sensible than the first one. So, he finally decided and wrote the second one, that is, love of gold can be dangerous, and he wrote it down on the paper. After writing, he looked at the big hall and he found out that there is half an hour more. And he wished that whether this exam was only for 2.5 hours, he couldn't have wasted his time like this, because he was feeling so awkward sitting there, and also he felt awkward that he didn't want to go to be the first person to go out of the examination hall. So that's why he felt awkward. He didn't want to leave early, and so he thought that okay, let the other boys also. Uh, if other boys give the paper, then I will also go with them. So he didn't want to be the first person to go out of the examination hall. So he started to think about what all he would do after the exam finishes, that is when the vacation starts. Does he wanted to roam around the town, he wanted to uh, go to his granny and wanted to listen a lot of stories, and he wanted to throw away his books. We also do the same thing, right? As fast as the examination is finished, the last day itself we throw our books, we run, and we do whatever we want. Yes or no? So the same thing, Swami also wanted to do the same thing. He wanted to throw away his books and he wanted to enjoy his vacation. As he was thinking all these things, the supervisors started to observe him. So Swami, he sat properly and he started to act. He started to pretend like he was revising his answer sheet, and he went on revising the answers once again, again and again and again, and at last he came at the end of the page, that is end of the answer sheet, and he drew an end line, and he started to draw designs for this end line, and he drew and drew and drew. He made into a complicated pattern. Okay, and by the time he thought that, oh, it might be 5 o'clock, and he looked at the clock and we found that it was just 10 minutes past. That is, it was just 4:40. And by the time two of the boys from the examination hall, they stood up and they gave the papers, and so Swaminathan also stood with them, and he gave, before giving the paper, he took his answer sheet, he folded the paper very briskly, and he wrote on the flap his name, his class, school, and this was the inscription he has given. Look at the inscription, children. Tamil, W.S. Swaminathan, first form, A section, Albert Mission School, Malgudi, South India, Asia. This was the inscription he has written on the flap on the paper in the answer sheet. So this is what Swaminathan had done on the last day of his exam. I hope you also have the same kind of feeling. Yes or no? Yes. So this is the story, children, and I want everyone to read the lesson twice. You have to read the lesson at least 2 times. And tomorrow we'll be reading the lesson together once again, and we'll underline the words, the difficult words, and we'll be finding the meanings for those words. And please read the lesson, children, and take care, and bye.